Hello and welcome back to Blood for Flowers. We're continuing with chapter 20. So come with me, M.C.McNeel, on a journey through time and space. Now Thera had only just bade her ladies arise when Drea presented a large leather saddle bag of which Thera opened. Here she found a thick stack of papers for her, sent by the Queen's Council. Her envoys and ambassadors, emissaries, as well as letters from the departments of Treasury, Agriculture, Defense, Armories, and the Themissaran Council of War. Thera had not even had time to mourn the loss of her mother before she found herself sitting at one of the large tables there under the cherry trees as the sun set and the moon rose. Thera found herself poring over all the letters from her captains in the field, who returned at once from Dardina, Macedon, and Illyria. Captain Lucia Vega had returned to Themyscira with the women under armed guard from the king of Scythia, as would all the ladies, as a threat was posed by the king of Thrace, who could at any time try to lay siege to that vacant throne. Thera ordered her ladies to begin to pack up all the tents and their belongings as they would depart that evening under the light of full moon post-haste, Artemis guiding their way to the border of Illyria by sunrise. However, the king of Sparta offered the use of his ships to see the women safely home. So instead of 7 days on the long, hard road, they would be safe in their homeland in 2 days. Now Vi, along with Vasha, thought this was the perfect solution. Now, when King Biocles spoke of this aloud in front of Queen Thera and her newly established council, as they sat at the long tables going over the documents, each of the 20 or so women gathered there stopped, paused, shocked, and all gave the look of a terrified nature when he mentioned sailing upon the water. The color draining away from their sun-kissed faces, as if someone had just walked over their graves. Vi, as well as Admiral Vasha, were shocked by the ladies' reaction at the offer to travel upon the sea. "Have we offended you, dear ladies, with our efforts to see you home in a timely and safe manner?" Viocles asked, giving Thera a confused look. "Dearest King, we are most delighted by your generous offer. You show us great honor by your willingness to assist us in our great distress. However, my dearest King Viocles, you must forgive us of our deep superstitious nature of the open waters, for our people have found much pain and loss brought upon by the sea. We are not an ocean-going nation. Although we have made a great many sacrifices to Poseidon over the years to achieve his blessings, we dare not tempt the fates again." Queen Thera replied, leaving the king with the overwhelming urge to know what cruel fate had befallen her people. Thera could see the king, her lover, was intrigued, so she sighed with a little smile of regret and said, "Who here will tell the story of our ladies, the story of Haifa, the story of Samos?" "I will tell the tale," Captain Amara said as she went and sat next to the king of Sparta and his Admiral Vasha. And here she noticed, sitting closely to them, that it was not Vasha that smelled of bay leaves, but 'twas the king. A familiar scent she recognized from Thera's bed. But out of unity, loyalty, respect, and honor, she kept this to herself and sat there and told a sad, sad tale, which continues as follows. All right. Chapter 20 continues. Amara began to tell the sad tale as she sat close to the king of Sparta. So close she inhaled his scent. Now this was a certain odor she had smelled before, the pungent sweet scent of olive oil and bay leaves. Amara was shocked when she recalled his scent permeating from Thera's sheets, Amara said nothing of this while she told the men gathered there at the table a brief history of her people. And it started. One dark day, about 700 years ago, our foremothers lived in the port city of Haifa by the bright blue waters of the Mediterranean Sea. A raiding party of slave traders from Lydia laid waste to the city. The men did their best, but the women and young girls of breeding age were taken, about 60 women altogether. Amara paused, and she let this new information soak into the buds of their minds like butter on hot bread. They were placed on a large sailing vessel, shackled and chained as slaves, until in the evening, as the ship sailed north, one of the clever women named Ephesia seduced the ship's captain out of her chains, and as she lay there giving him pleasure, she stabbed him in the side with his own dagger. Silently, Ephesia crept back down into the cargo hold, where she unlocked all the women, letting them loose upon the sleeping men. The enraged women took their revenge, beating the men to death as they slept, slitting throats and slicing open bellies. Blood was as wet as dew upon the ropes, the decks, and unfurled sails. Here she paused again for dramatic effect, as Amara was a master storyteller and was wont to do. Now, our poor dear ladies had no knowledge of the sea or sailing or steering, so they were tossed about upon the water at the will of the wind and Poseidon, swiftly drifting to the north and east, past Hellespont and Troy, through the Bosphorus into the Black Sea, where a raging storm left the remnants of the ship and her survivors stranded upon Scythian shores. And only 33 had survived the shipwreck. Most of them drowning, their dead bodies bloated upon the water as the women came and regained consciousness there, gasping for air, wet from death and destruction. The horror. Thera looked up from the list of items in her treasury at this point in the story as she watched the reaction upon the faces of the king whilst hearing the tale for the very first time. Queen Thera delighted in Arma's telling of the tale, as her dear old friend loved to be the center of attention, and here, this table under the cherry blossoms would serve as her stage, even though the tale was tragic. Now, the half-drowned ladies sought shelter in the caves by the shore, and they were forced to make their way by making nighttime raids upon the neighboring villages, taking food, cloth, goats, and horses, whatever they needed, whatever they could get. They survived for about 5 years in this way, until one day, the king of Scythia, who had not eradicated these tempestuous thieving ladies, decided to form an accord with the wild women. What of the bargain? King Viacles wanted to know. They decided upon a breeding campaign. For the women refused marriage to the Scythians, who were poor horsemen, terrible fighters, and required their women to be obedient and docile. Yet these women had won their freedom through blood. Domestication was out of the question. Wow. However, they needed to breed, for without children, the women would die out and be forgotten to history. This is the time when they offered up all their sons for provisions, horses, crops, and orchards, keeping only their daughters with them, teaching their ways, how to ride and hunt, think, weave, cook, and fight. Again, Amara, the storyteller, paused. Then she smiled and turned to Viacles, looking deeply in his dark eyes. Now, here it is, 600 or so years later, and here I am, a direct descendant of those brave ladies, as we all are here, the women of Themyscira, Amara proclaimed with hearty good cheer to the applause of the Themysciran women. Praise Zeus, those brave ladies survived the tragedy. We ourselves feel now more blessed than ever by the gods and goddesses to share in your culture and knowledge, Viacles said as he turned to give Queen Thera a sympathetic look of care and understanding. But what of the island of Samos? Admiral Vasha asked, still intrigued. You have neglected to tell this part of your tale. Now, here the mood shifted from one of elevation in the women to a deep and somber sadness in their faces, and felt in their presence as Amara said sadly, shaking her head, saying, "Ah, the island of Samos, our saddest tale to tell." Okay, so that's end of chapter 20. We will continue with chapter 21 as soon as I can get back to you. And again, I hope you like these stories because I enjoy writing them. I like reading them to you. And please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I need encouragement in these times right now, and I want to share a lot of this stuff with you. So if you could, please go to my YouTube channel, like and subscribe. I'd sure appreciate it. And again, if you can find some joy out there, I know there's some out there. There is, I know it. So if you're able to find a little bit of joy, take that little bit of joy, put it in your heart, keep it warm, and take it with you wherever you go. Okay, see you next time. Bye.